were very anxious for his having an estate of his own. Now, when I read this quote, I wondered whether or not the Bingley sisters were really Aussies, because Australians have a great fixation with home ownership. Think about shows like The Block, but our fixation with home ownership is definitely tied to the British notion of wealth, which is acquired via possession and land ownership. Hi, I'm Kat from Bear Learn, and the quote we're going to quickly analyse today is this one from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, which is, "His sisters were very anxious for his having an estate of his own." This quote appears on page 17, and it is said by the narrator about the Bingley sisters, who are the younger and unmarried Caroline Bingley and the older married sister, Mrs. Louisa Hurst. Why is this quote worth taking some notes on in your bear bank? It's because it goes to the core of class and social mobility, two related themes that are infused through the pages of Pride and Prejudice as considerations about class and social mobility greatly influence some of the characters' attitudes and behaviours throughout the text. So, if you haven't already, open up your bear bank as we take notes on this quote related to class and social mobility. So, in Pride and Prejudice, in terms of ranking, the highest class that we're introduced to is that of the aristocracy, so lords and ladies. And that's the class that another Pride and Prejudice character, Lady Catherine de Bourgh, belongs to. The next one down is that of landed gentry, meaning those who own land and live off the money or interest generated by their home ownership, like the money that they might get from rent. This is the class that Mr. Darcy belongs to because he owns the fabulous Pemberley estate and I think also a townhouse in London. The Bennets also belong to this class because they own Longbourn estate. On that, I should clarify that it is the male the male Bennets who own Longbourn estate. So Mr. Bennet owns Longbourn until he dies, and that's when it unfortunately gets passed on to the not so fabulous Mr. Collins and his wife Charlotte. So we've got the landed gentry, and then below them, generally those wealthy by trade. And that's the class that the Bingleys belong to. We learn early on in the text that Mr. Bingley inherited wealth from his father, and that was the fortune that was made in trade. So while Mr. Bingley doesn't have to work and can live off the interest made from the investments made by the wealth generated by his father in business, it's important to note that the Bingley family so far come from a family of traders, and that their father actually had to work for money. What a chore! So, because Regency England was so fixated on class, it is assumed that everyone's ambition is to move up in class. And that's what this whole quote is about. When the Bingley sisters are very anxious for their brother to have an estate of his own, it is because they want their brother, Mr. Bingley, to use their father's money to buy land so that the whole family can then become part of the exclusive group of landed gentry, like many home desiring Australians want to be as well. That's why this quote is a great quote to use to demonstrate understanding of class and social mobility in the context of when Pride and Prejudice is set. But before I continue, a reminder to please like this video and subscribe to this channel. If my work in English tuition makes me enough money one day, I can become part of this exclusive club of landed individuals as well and spend my days fishing, diving into ponds, that's in the movie, or honing my skills in modern languages, apparently what women need to do. But for now, I'm definitely indebted. I'm part of the indebted working class, so please like my video. Every bit helps. Now, back to this quote. In another Bear Bank video, I quickly noted that Elizabeth doesn't like the Bingley sisters because they're supercilious, which means they're snobs. And it kind of makes sense in a society obsessed with class and rank. The Bingley sisters are probably not an isolated case, but the narrative voice does make fun of them because later on in a passage about Elizabeth's uncle who is in business, the narrator refers to the Bingley sisters as the Netherfield sisters. Now, this is the only time in which the narrator calls Caroline and Louisa the Netherfield sisters. And that's important because in the context of the passage, which is talking about Mr. Gardiner who makes his money in business, the narrator is reminding the audience that the Bingley sisters have no business looking down on those who have to work to earn a living, because that's the class from which they belong to. They are not part of the landed gentry, the narrator reminds us, because they are the Netherfield sisters. They don't have an estate of their own, they are renting. That's the AUSTEN equivalent of a very classy burn. If you want more detailed analysis on Pride and Prejudice, as I mentioned earlier, my channel has more videos like this to help you build your quotes and notes on the book. And if you go to my website, bearlearn.com, you can get daily quotes sent to you with detailed analysis of each quote for 50 consecutive days. So you can be reading a bit every single day to stay on top of your analysis so that you don't have to feel like you have to read a whole study guide all at once. It only takes about 5 to 10 minutes a day. You can do it on a bus, you can do it on a train, and frankly, even on the road. And hey, if you don't want the analysis and you want to build up your analysis yourself, you can sign up to get free daily quotes from Pride and Prejudice sent to your inbox. And on top of that, if you want to get your quotes only or your quotes and analysis put all into your bear bank at once, you can add the add to bear bank option from my site to your cart and checkout. Best of luck building your bank of quotes and notes for Pride and Prejudice. As always, be educated and read. And really fall in love with books like Pride and Prejudice.